Last night, we also took strikes to disrupt plotting against the United States and our allies by seasoned al-Qaeda operatives in Syria who are known as the Khorasan Group. And once again, it must be clear to anyone who would plot against America and try to do Americans harm that we will not tolerate safe havens for terrorists who threaten our people. I've spoken to leaders in Congress, and I'm pleased that there is bipartisan support for the actions that we're taking. America is always stronger when we stand united, and that unity sends a powerful message to the world that we will do what's necessary to defend our country.
All right, folks, and one of those who has been most instrumental in calling for that bipartisan support and supplying that bipartisan support is Congressman Peter King, a Republican from New York, member of the House Homeland Security Committee and chair of the House Subcommittee on Counterterrorism and Intelligence. Congressman, welcome. Congressman?
Yes, Steve.
Yeah, hi, welcome back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so you just heard the president. Before we get to what he talked about Khorasan and the threat they posed, were you aware that these strikes would take place prior to them taking place?
No, I was tipped off by somebody last night, but I was not given any official notification, no.
Okay. Were you surprised then? I mean, did you expect it to happen so soon after the vote in Congress to support, at least training and arming the Syrian rebels?
I was somewhat surprised. In fact, I actually even met with a prominent Arab nation leader yesterday, and I got the impression that he didn't know about it either. But again, the president, I don't expect him to be telling people what he's going to do. I think he should have actually done it sooner, and I've said that all along. It would have been better, and I'm not trying to be Monday morning quarterback here because I said it at the time, if he had done the attacks before he even made his initial speech to Congress so that ISIS didn't have a chance to get ready. But having said that, what's done is done. And if he continues on this with sustained attacks, then as Americans, I believe we should certainly support him. My concern is whether or not the president will stick it through, because one night does not win a war. 1 week or 1 month doesn't win a war. I mean, this is going to be a long fight.
Now, you said you spoke to one prominent Arab leader. Is he from a country that is supposedly involved in the coalition that the president alluded to, one of the specific countries mentioned by the president?
No, I'm not trying to be mysterious. It was not one of those countries, but it was a country which is basically supportive of the United States.
Okay. Now, are you confident? Do you know anything about the participation of these, the coalition members, so to speak, the Arab members of this coalition? Did they actually, any of them, participate in dropping bombs? Do you know?
I think all of them took part in the operations except for Qatar. I don't know exactly whether they supplied airbase or, but they, as I understand it, did not actually take part in the attacks themselves. The other countries, I don't know how extensive it was. That, I think, is all going to come out. I think the administration is saying that each country can announce its own involvement. Now, I do know, for instance, that Jordan, under King Abdullah, does have an effective fighting force. UAE is somewhat effective. But again, I don't know how much they did, what the extent of it was. But I do know, from what I've heard from people involved, that Qatar did not take part in the actual attack itself as far as carrying out any missions.
Now, these attacks come in the wake of the Islamic State, a horrific attack on an Iraqi base. Hundreds are missing. The Iraqi army, basically defeated quite easily. I believe this is in Western Anbar province. And so, it still shows that, there's plenty of ISIS to go around that needs to be taken care of.
Oh, this is going to be, if the president and the country are serious about it, this is going to be a long, hard fight. And what we saw last night will have to go on, I believe, for weeks and months. And then after that, someone's ground troops are going to have to be used. Air power is not going to be enough because ISIS is going to disperse. Again, they are spread out, which makes it in some ways easier for us to get them. But air power is not going to win it. It can hurt them. It can knock them back. It can slow them down. It can weaken them. But it's not going to kill them. It's not going to destroy them. That's going to take someone's troops on the ground. And again, it would be great if Arab nations are willing to do that. Whether they are or not, and how effective they'd be is another question. Basically, it's you have the U.S., you have the Australians, Canadians, and the Brits. You know, they're the ones who can do this type of fighting. The others, again, it's better politically and diplomatically to have Arab nations involved, but bottom line, it's going to have to come down to the U.S. doing the tough fighting.
On the ground.
Yes, and I'm not talking about a large-scale ground war where you're going to have platoons and companies and battalions and brigades, but you're going to, I believe, have to have special forces. You will have to have intelligence on the ground to, as spotters for the bombing attacks. And again, you will need, I think, in some areas where if ISIS retreats to a town or a city, you will have to.
You got to go get them. You got to send them in and go get them. Yeah.
And at least have U.S. troops embedded with whoever's down there. The one, I don't think we can count very much on anyone that we recruit from the Free Syrian Army because one thing, it's hard to find who can be trusted and who can't. It's not going to be a large number, and then you have to train them and you have to get them out there. It's going to take 6 months or a year, and that could be a lifetime in a war.
Yeah. Congressman, this Khorasan group, the offshoot of Al Qaeda, who we hear from counterterrorism sources within the United States, had to be hit. According to the president, it was an imminent threat, and we hear that they were planning building bombs that could be carried onto planes by people in this country and other Western countries, undetectable bombs that could go in the computer or laptop, etc. For two things: how big a threat is that right now? Does this solve that threat? I would assume that answer is no. And does this make it more likely with the bombing that they will now want to act quicker?
First of all, as far as the Khorasan Group, I've been aware of them now for several months. It was top secret, classified, and was not to be made public that we even knew about the existence of it. That's why I was surprised several days ago when I saw a story about it in the paper. My surmise is that the administration leaked that as a prelude to last night's attack on the Khorasan Group, because you've heard nobody in the administration mention them until the last several days. No, I mean, this is not going to stop future attacks. What it's going to do, it's going to make it more difficult for them to carry it out. We're going to go after their command and control. We're going to go after their top leadership, but it's not going to be enough to stop them as a threat. And they are extremely deadly. They are extremely dangerous. And they are not connected with ISIS. They are two separate organizations.
How worried are you about the safety of airline travel now, now that we know that these bombs are, that this is what they want to do?
Yeah, I would have to see exactly what threat stream the administration is talking about. I saw the Khorasan Group, as being I say a potential threat. They're capable of doing it now. I'm not aware of any imminent threats. That doesn't mean there aren't any. And again, the administration can have them, and I'm not aware of it.
Right.
But they definitely are capable of carrying out at any time, attempting to carry out a very vicious and deadly attack. That's why intelligence is so important, and that's why it's also important for us to have intelligence in this country, because as you know, often those groups have their supporters over here. So it's important to have intelligence from overseas and also right here in the communities in our own country.
Well, let me ask you one more, Congressman. ISIS has already instructed their people in the West to kill civilians in any country that's participating in these airstrikes. These intensified airstrikes, do you fear that makes it more likely for ISIS members who might be here in this country now to strike in the immediate future?
Yeah, I think, first of all, these people would have attacked us anyway. But they may feel an urgency to do it now to show that ISIS can fight back, that ISIS is not going to take this, and hopefully, and they would hope that that demoralizes the American people. So, yeah, I think we always have to be alert to them. I think we have to be even more so now because I think they want to show others in the Muslim world they're not going to sit back and take it. They're going to fight back.
Congressman, thank you as always, sir. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, Steve.
Congressman Peter King, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. It's, now more than ever, at least more than ever in the recent post-9/11 era, if you see something, say something. I know you're not supposed to profile, but if you see something, you're supposed to say something. Forget the profiling. If you see something, say something. All right, folks, when we come back, Newsmax contributor and political consultant Dick Morris. He's got a new one. Don't go away.